What's up, my friend? Abby here, and welcome back to Writer's Life Wednesdays, where we come together to help you make your story matter and make your author dreams come true. Today we're talking about negative character arcs. More specifically, how to write a negative character arc that frustrates your reader in a good way and leaves them thinking long after they finish your story. It's simpler than you might think. First, I'm going to demystify the whole idea of negative character arcs and debunk some popular ideas. Then I'm going to show you the one overarching structure that can be applied to any negative character arc. And here's the best part, it can be used in tandem with the 3-act story structure. So it lines up with everything else that I teach on this channel. And finally, we're going to case study some of my favorite negative character arcs and look at what makes them so compelling and memorable. Get ready to take some notes. Why does your story matter? Good question. What if I told you that there's a science behind every great story? I don't just teach you how to write. I teach you how to change the world with your story and make your author dreams come true. Okay, so if you've been doing some research looking up how to write a negative character arc, you've probably noticed that most writers talk about 3 different kinds of negative character arcs. 1, the disillusionment arc, 2, the corruption arc, and 3, the FLAW arc. But I would argue that they are all the same. They are all about characters who ultimately believe a lie. That's really the whole point of a negative character arc, and that's the simplest way to look at it. So if you're at all confused about the nuances and the slight differences, just remember this. A positive character arc is for a character who goes on a transformative journey and ultimately discovers the truth, becoming a better person as a result. A negative character arc is for a character who goes on a transformative journey and ultimately embraces a lie as the truth, becoming a worse person as a result, or meeting their tragic end. But wait, Abby, there are 3 different negative character arcs. The disillusionment, the corruption, the FLAW, they're different. Are they? Are they really? Well, let's see about that. Let's look at the disillusionment arc to start. Most writers will describe this as being similar to the positive character arc because your character does discover the truth, but the truth is tragic. Thus, the character derails from their original ideals and embraces a pessimistic worldview. But this raises a more important question. Is truth tragic? To answer this question, we have to look at the 3 different types of people in the world: pessimists, realists, and optimists. On one end of the spectrum, you have people who go through life thinking the whole universe is against them. And on the other end, you have people who deny reality and never learn problem-solving skills because they refuse to see problems. I think we can all agree that it's not good to find yourself on either extreme end of this spectrum. The best way to navigate life is to be somewhere in the middle, to be a realist, perhaps leaning more towards the side of optimism than pessimism. I like to call this being realistically optimistic. Comment below if you got that reference. In the disillusionment arc, your character ultimately moves towards pessimism. They do discover the truth, but they see the truth as tragic. So they abandon their optimistic ideals, their rose-tinted lie, but they don't become a realist, they become a pessimist. You could argue that anyone existing on these 2 extreme ends of this spectrum are essentially living a lie because they don't see things for how they really are. Which brings me to the point that the disillusionment arc does not actually bring your character to the truth. They may have a brush with truth, but their perception is still messed up. They see the truth as tragic, which means they're still essentially living a lie. It might be a different lie than the first lie, but it's still a character who goes on a transformative journey and ultimately embraces a lie as the truth. Let's look at negative character arc number 2, the corruption. This is your classic come to the dark side arc, and that's fine. Corruption is a key element to a compelling negative character arc. But there's a glaring problem with this particular idea, and it's that most writers think that this is just a reverse engineered version of the positive character arc. So instead of taking your character from conflicted to positive, you're taking them from positive to negative. No. That's not how corruption works. See, a person who is truly enlightened and sold out to the truth can't be corrupted. They can't be lured away by the lie because they are grounded in truth. right? Corruption doesn't stand a chance. So this idea that we can start a story with a perfect character who knows the truth and who lives in a world that knows the truth, and then they're lured away by the lie, it just doesn't work like that, okay? Not in the real world, not in your fictional world. In order for a person to be lured away by an idea, any idea, they have to first be conflicted. They must be doubting their own truth or looking for truth somewhere else. A character who is sold out and grounded in truth is unshakable and incorruptible. But a character who is conflicted and unsure, questioning and doubting, they are the ideal target for corruption. That's why you always have to start with a conflicted character. They might look perfectly fine on the outside, but inside they are struggling. They're conflicted. They have to be, or else nothing matters. So although there are nuanced differences between the Disillusionment Arc and the Corruption Arc, they have the same overarching concept, which is a character who goes on a transformative journey and ultimately embraces a lie as the truth. Okay, real quick, let's look at the final negative character arc and see how it compares. The Fall. The Fall is your classic negative character arc, the downward spiral that eventually leads to this character's devastating destruction. They reject truth at every turn and desperately cling to their lie, which ultimately leads them to their tragic end. They had opportunities to realize the truth and redeem themselves, but they just couldn't let go of their lie, so they fall into their own destruction. And this third arc follows the same overarching structure. A character who goes on a transformative journey and ultimately embraces a lie as the truth. That's what a negative character arc is. It's designed to leave your reader wondering, what if? And pondering the consequences of rejecting truth. Do you see what I mean about how all of these variations of the negative character arc are really the same thing? And some of my favorite negative character arcs combine all three, and it's so satisfying. But we'll get to that later. First, I want to show you what my negative character arc template looks like. As you can see, the structure is very simple. It only has 5 main pivotal story beats. 1, the conflicted starting point. 2, the first fear-based choice. 3, the game-changing midpoint. 4, the acceptance of lie. And 5, the tragic end. If you're writing a series, I would recommend stretching this negative character arc over the course of the whole series, not just the first book or the first season, okay? Because this arc is designed for the lifespan of the character. So I don't know how long their story will take to develop. That's up to you as the writer. Let's break down these story beats. The conflicted starting point. Character starts the story deeply conflicted, grappling with their desire, fear, and lie. Ask yourself, what does my character think will bring them true happiness or contentment? How is their desire fundamentally based on their misbelief? Like I said before, you must start with a conflicted character, a character who is susceptible to corruption, and therefore set up to go on this journey that leads them to accept their lie as the truth. Even if your negative character arc is for a side character, I urge you to develop their internal conflict before you send them off on their journey. I want to emphasize that a character with a negative arc does not have to be the villain of the story. In fact, a truly satisfying negative character arc begins with a character who has the potential to be good, if they saw the truth and made courageous decisions. But of course, they won't, because they are living from their misbelief. If you need help finding your character's misbelief, check out this video right here. Plot point number 2 is the first fear-based choice. When characters pushed outside their comfort zone, they make a decision based on their fear and misbelief. Ask yourself, what is the impossible choice? Your character must be faced with options: stay inside their comfort zone and risk never getting what they desire, or venture into the unknown and accomplish their goal while still avoiding their fear. Just like with the positive character arc, there has to be an inciting incident that pushes this character outside their comfort zone and forces them into the ring with their fear. The plot can't just happen to them, they have to be an opponent, not a punching bag. In fact, you can reference the 3-act story structure for a lot of your negative character arc, because just like with the positive character arc, your character has to be rife with internal conflict. That's the only way that they are relatable to your reader. Next plot point is the game-changing midpoint. A plot twist changes the game, forcing the character to make another decision, one that will change everything. Ask yourself, what unexpected thing is going to upend my character's plan and entire life? Why does it matter, and how does it change the game? Again, look at the 3-act story structure and see how these 2 plot points line up. There must be a plot twist, something that changes the game and forces the character to make another pivotal choice. If it's the antagonist of the story, then keep in mind that they might be the instigator of the plot twist against the protagonist. Okay, but if you do this, remember to make the plot twist still matter to the antagonist. Okay, in other words, why does it matter to them based on their fear and misbelief? Next up, we have the acceptance of lie. Character finally accepts their lie as the truth, getting what they want, but not realizing the truth. Ask yourself, what makes my character embrace their lie once and for all? What dramatic action do they take to get what they want? The corresponding plot point here in the 3-act story structure is the aha moment. So instead of realizing the truth, your character is going to finally embrace their lie as the truth. It's their last opportunity for redemption, and they reject it. Instead, they take dramatic and aggressive action to get what they want, which either directly or indirectly leads them to the tragic end. Making the wrong choices has led this character to a tragic end, where they have fully embraced their lie and live unhappily ever after. Ask yourself, how have my character's bad decisions led them to their tragic end? How can I show my reader that they are to blame for this whole mess? Here's the part that really makes your readers think. Cause and effect has led your character to the end of their story. But not just because the plot happened to them. They were the creator of their own destiny, the victim of their own actions. Basically, they are their own worst enemy. If you trace back through the events of the plot, you should be able to see this domino effect of fear-based decision after fear-based decision, which led your character to their tragic end. That's what makes a negative character arc powerful and thought-provoking. Okay, so I know it's so much easier to wrap your head around these concepts when we have story examples to case study, so that's what we're gonna do next week. I'll show you what a well-written negative character arc looks like and how this structure works in action. We'll case study 2 very different stories so that you can see what this negative character arc looks like in different genres, and also what it looks like when the character is not the antagonist. So that's next week. Stay tuned for that. And if you're from the future, the link will be right there. But otherwise, subscribe so you don't miss it, or any of the other writing and publishing videos that I post every single Wednesday. I would love to have you here in the community. Smash that like button if you liked this video, and be sure to check out my Patreon, because that's where we go beyond videos and take storytelling to the next level. The Patreon community is not only the best way to support what I'm doing here on YouTube, but it's also the only way to connect one-on-one with me and get better guidance on your stories. So go to patreon.com/Abbie Emmons and check out all the exclusive content I have made over there for you. Until next week, my friend, rock on. I hope I don't look as tired as I feel. Okay. Okay, so I know it's so much easier. Stop! Acceptance of lie. Character finally accepts their truth as their truth as the lie. What?